Hello, welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good week. I've just come back from South Coast Summit, came back yesterday. Yeah, what a brilliant conference. It really was. Some really, really good sessions. I had a really good time. I took lots of things away from the keynote actually, which is sometimes unusual for a conference with the keynotes. Sometimes they can be sometimes they're good, sometimes they're less good, right? Sometimes they can be quite kind of bland. This one, the keynote speaker was Don Osaka, and it was really good. Got lots of homework to take away, really made me think about some things, and yeah, I thought it was a really good one. So also at South Coast Summit, I managed to get some sessions in as well, which was really nice. I like going to sessions sometimes for things that are completely outside, like the area I work in every day, because I think it helps round out the knowledge and stuff like that. And you never know when some of this stuff, comes in handy. You never know when it might be needed. Hey, Kevin. Yes, I agree. Awesome keynote. I think it was. I can always tell when it's a good keynote because I come away with like notes and to-dos. And that was definitely the case here. It really made me think about some stuff. And I've got some research to do, I think. I've got some ideas for some other things. I don't have any time to execute on those ideas, but that's kind of fairly standard. But, we'll see. Kevin, you probably love the keynote because Donna called out your new podcast, The Copilot Connection. So I can see why you liked it. But yeah, no. I think, that was really good. Anyway, we're not here to talk about South Coast. Well, we are a little bit, but let's talk about other things that happened this week. So there's a blog post out, which is a reminder blog post for people who use Microsoft Graph and Call Records API, which is the kind of real-time, on-call wrap-up anyway, webhook that you get to tell you that a call or a meeting has finished. All the way back in April time, Microsoft announced that they're going to change the structure slightly of the call data records. Specifically, here's the blog post, the OData ID and the OData type field. They're changing their field name. Now, back in April, they put the new property in alongside the old one. Soon, like really soon, as in the week beginning October the 30th, they are going to start taking that away. And so you're only going to have the new field name. Will this break your code? It depends. It depends how much you rely on that OData ID and OData type. You might not because it's not kind of core data, if you like. It's metadata. But if you're doing any kind of serialization of the JSON or anything like that, then possibly this might break that. So just one to be aware of. Do some testing, update those field names, update those like C# objects if you've got them into serialization, because that's probably where you're going to notice the change if it happens at all. So that's kind of one to look out for if you've got call record stuff and it starts breaking the week starting October the 30th. Go check this out because that might well be what it is. You're just going to get weird serialization errors. All right. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft Mesh a little bit because it's just gone into public preview. I think this is not specifically a dev story, although it kind of is. I think it's an interesting one for developers to think about. So Mesh itself is in public preview, allows you to have your Teams meetings in virtual reality. I think there is a big opportunity here for developers to lean into what that means for organizations who want to kind of meet in this virtual space. I think, is it worth developers really getting into for creating virtual environments and stuff like that? I don't know. If you're already in that world, then probably. If you're not in that world, is it worth putting in the effort to understand it? I think maybe we'll see how the uptake goes because, you can do this today with the stuff that comes with the Mesh experience as it's launched, with the worlds that are there at the moment and those experiences. You can do this today. You don't need to code up your own world and environment. Although you can if you want to, and that's the thing. So this is kind of interesting. For me, it's kind of one of those, like, I really want to look into this. Can I find the time to do it? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I think it's really interesting. And they're trying to make it as easy as possible as well for developers to get into. They've kind of got this visual scripter as well, so you can kind of get going without like necessarily having to know Unity really, really well. I think you probably do need to understand Unity visual scripting, which I do not know at all. So I'm not at all qualified to talk about. I don't know. Maybe I'll get into it. Maybe if I, the next project time when I have like an R&D time when I just want to learn something new, then absolutely we can look at that. Mesh physics sounds like a whole interesting new world that I know absolutely nothing about. I might call up some friends actually who kind of work on this stuff and see how easy it is to get into and whether or not I should even bother. But lots of cool screenshots in here as well. So go check it out, give it a try, especially if you're into this kind of stuff, if you're into virtual reality, if you're into kind of gaming or anything like that. It feels like if you're in an organization, they're probably looking and waiting for somebody to tell them how to use this in the real world. So if that's you, I think, take that opportunity and apply what you know from your VR and gaming kind of experience out of work and bring it into the workplace and see if it lands and see if it, really does make for more immersive meetings. Because you never know, if you don't really like what you're doing at the moment at work, you could spend all your whole time building virtual reality environments for work, and that would be fun if that's the thing you're into. You never know. All right, let's switch gears completely to Azure Communication Services. They've got a whole bunch of stuff out, and so the next two blog posts I want to tell you about are all about Azure Communication Services stuff. And this one's a big one first, and then the next one is just like a big wrap up. So big one, it's in public preview. This is the ability to integrate with WhatsApp business platform. So that's the thing that allows you to send and receive, as a business, lets you send and receive WhatsApp messages. You can now tie that directly into your Azure Communication Services instance. So it makes it a bit more omni-channel. It's adding another channel on top of what Azure Communication Services already does around, kind of web and SMS and voice and stuff like that. This adds in WhatsApp, which is kind of cool. And it really, as a developer, probably means there's not an awful lot extra for you to do because you can treat it like an SMS or a chat channel. You just add it to the channels list. And I mean, you can do it with all sorts of things. You could use it with their job router capability. That's what they talk about. You could use it with the new AI stuff. You could use it with the kind of all the stuff. I think it's just for chat. That kind of makes the most sense. I don't know if you can call with it. I think it's just messaging. I think it's advanced messaging, which kind of makes the most sense. But you could do all sorts of routing. You could do AI answers. You could transfer that message through to an individual. Lots and lots of different options, and kind of rounds out Azure Communication Services into what is becoming, an omni-channel contact center platform kind of by stealth. So I think that's really interesting and definitely one to keep an eye on. I did say Azure Communication Services have been busy. It's also now time for their October features update blog post, which is out, and a ton of new things in there. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's lots and lots of them, but I did want to call out that WhatsApp one, just because it's kind of, it's a big new piece of functionality that, will unlock lots of people. But as you can see, there's lots of new kind of little things in here as well. It's cool. So lots going on. Closed captions in interop, that's kind of interesting. A lot of this feels like rounding out and filling in some of the gaps from some of the previous big feature drops, like the interop with Microsoft Teams. It didn't come with the closed captioning stuff from live captions, so now it does, and that's really cool. So lots of things going on there. Kev, in WhatsApp integration, it is kind of interesting, isn't it? I feel like Azure Communication Services is kind of like a sleeper cell contact center in waiting to be. It's just kind of slowly adding all those pieces together. And yes, definitely, I shall put that in the next conference session. It would be kind of cool to have all the audience do something on WhatsApp Business. But let me think about what. I did a talk at Collab Days Bletchley where people phoned in using the phone kind of capabilities, and that was kind of cool. Phoned in, did speech to text. Did AI to answer the question, and then did text to speech to answer it back again. That was kind of cool. So maybe we could do something like that with WhatsApp Business. We'll see. Hi, Footer Boy Ray. I'm not very good at translation, but I shall try and do it real time. I feel like hang on. yeah. Sorry about that. I feel like probably that's something about Activision Blizzard and Microsoft, but I don't quite know what, so I'm sorry. But having said that, yes, you're right, actually. I'm not necessarily about the Activision Blizzard stuff. You might be right about that, I don't know. But what I was thinking was actually Microsoft own an awful lot of game studios and do a lot in that world. And so they know all of this kind of stuff they know what to do, and they know how to take all that Unity stuff and make it work really well. That said, Microsoft's a really big organization, and just because Microsoft has capabilities here and here doesn't always mean they talk to each other all of the time. Yes, I do. I know, Kevin. I know I need Copilot. I'm sorry. You're right. I was trying to copy it. Actually, I was trying to copy and paste the message to get it into a Copilot or a translation or something like that, and then I ended up logging out of the chat platform thing, like the Restream platform, and then I was worried I killed the stream, but I don't think I have. So I'm just going to not touch anything anymore. All right, there's one more thing I want to tell you about because I think it's kind of interesting, and it's nothing to do with, I mean, I'm interested in it, and I think other developers in this space should be interested in it. It's a new thing that I found out about at South Coast Summit, and it's called OneLake, and it's described by Microsoft as the OneDrive for data. And I kind of heard of it, but not really. So one of the nice things about going to sessions at conferences is that there was a whole session on OneLake, and so I just went to that session, and now I have 60 minutes of information about OneLake in my head, so I have a much clearer idea about what it is and why it's useful. I think this is one that's worth keeping an eye on, because if you are a developer in this space, you probably wrangle with data. You probably have to do reporting on that data, and people probably come to you quite a bit and ask you, especially if you're in the architect space as well, where should I put this data? What should it look like? Should it be in SQL? But what if we want to report on it? Should it be in something else? Should it be in a data lake? Should I store it in some other format that is not SQL? Should I store it flat? What about NoSQL? What about Parquet? What about this, that, and the other? And the interesting thing I kind of took away was this OneLake thing makes it so that it doesn't really matter how you store your data. You store it in one type of format, and then you can access it using different tools. You can access it with T-SQL if you want to. You can access it with a Custo or some other like ingestion platform. You don't need to pick the tool for the storage for the thing you want to do, which I think is a good idea, because quite often I don't think we really know going into a project how the reporting is necessarily going to work out. Is it going to be in Power BI? Is it going to be on a web page somewhere? Is it going to be in a much more sophisticated like ML tool? How's that going to look? So I think this is one that's worth keeping an eye on. It is a kind of a slightly different way about thinking about the data, but overall I think it probably will be easier in the long term. It's not going to be right for everyone. It's kind of probably like a big company solution or a big enterprisey, lots of data kind of solution. So it doesn't take away the other stuff. But what I've linked to is a kind of Microsoft Learn page all about OneLake. And this is probably, I think, a good place to start. And this is kind of where I'm starting and where I'm going to start my looking around at OneLake and how to use it and what it is. It's a kind of great overview of why and how and some of the advantages. And I think it's cool. The thing I was just talking about down here is, this is the thing, right? So you got one copy of the data and you can have these multiple analytical engines. So you store it once and then you can access it using these different things, which I think is cool. And feels much better, feels much nicer than constantly transforming the data into different shapes just to do the reporting, because obviously that adds complexity, but it also adds the risk of data getting out of date and stuff as well. So all right, I think that's everything I want to talk about this week. This week is also going to be busy. There's lots of things going on, and in addition to all the other things that are going on Thursday, there is a big Microsoft AI Day in London. That's going to be really good. Again, looking to immerse myself deep in that world. I've already done some bits and pieces, but I feel like a day immersed in it will really help me ground out some of that kind of more foundational knowledge as well. So definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, should be really good. So I'll talk about some of that next week, because I imagine there'll be a bunch of resources and links and stuff to take away from that day. If you're going to be there, it's on Thursday all day. It's at the Excel in London. Yeah, if you're going to be there and see me, come and say hi. Should be good. The other thing I need to do this week is try and get a video out around South Coast Summit, because I took some videos, so I'll try and put that together. So if you didn't go to South Coast Summit, then you'll be able to see what it was like. So that'd be really cool. Kevin's back. Oh, Kev, you're totally on it today. That's a good idea. He's got some great ideas around OneLake integrations for Viva goals. That'd be really interesting. What would be kind of interesting and amazing would be internally, actually, if Microsoft start using, and I think maybe this is kind of what you're saying as well, Kevin, is if hang on, let me marshal my thoughts in real time. If Microsoft start using OneLake or exposing the data that they're currently storing internally through a OneLake style infrastructure for organizations, then I think that would be really interesting. So, when you buy the Viva suite or whatever, what you also get is access to the OneLake for Viva, or or the data. There's only ever OneLake per tenant, but you maybe some workspaces that are all the Viva data. And I could really see that expanding out and being really useful around, maybe you also get all your team's usage data or your analytics data or all of the places where Microsoft surfaces data. Maybe it all arrives as a different workspace in OneLake, so that actually it becomes really easy to do some really powerful reporting across your estate that is made up of not just your data that you put into OneLake, but also data about your organization that Microsoft has put into OneLake as well. Don't know if that's what they're planning, but that would be kind of powerful, but also a ton of work. So we'll see. Anyway, lots of things to think about. And yeah, whatever it is you're doing this week, have a great one. And I will see you on Thursday if you're going to be in London. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.